So morning true from PNG. So I'm up with the team from Water PNG this morning, heading back to Australia today. So that our flight got cancelled. So I've had the delight of staying in sunny PNG for another day. So morning true, Malolale, Bulla Vanaka. Who else we got there? Talofa, Kiorana. I can't see anyone from Cook Island or Kiorana if they're there. And good morning to everyone. I won't try and go through all the languages. That's about the extent of my Pacific language skill. But good morning to everybody. So just oops, got a slide too far. A bit of housekeeping there. If you could turn your microphones off during the presentations, unless you're speaking. If you, please raise your hand if you'd like to talk. I'll drop a message in the chat, so we'll use the chat this morning. We're hoping to get some good conversation and questions to our panellists, and we've certainly got some time at the end for some Q&A. There's a bit of a lag, sorry, on the slides. It's changed. Okay. So, yeah, good morning. We'll have some opening remarks in a minute, and I'll just have a bit of a talk about our topic there, about how we go and actually operationalise the tariffs that we talked about in the last webinar. So it's one thing to set a tariff, but how do we make it real? Then we'll have our panel discussion, time for Q&A, and before everyone dashes off, we'll have some closing remarks, a little poll today, and as always, our group photo. Okay, so I'll hand over to Nita Pockrell, for Director of Water and Urban Sector Office for Pacific and Southeast Asia, to give us some opening remarks. So over to you, Nita.
Thank you, Dean. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. Dean already set the scene why we're here today. We continue our second WASH webinar series, focusing on how do we operationalize the water tariffs that we talked about in the first one. Very important conversation for people in the sector. Great to see so many of you here. And once again, I want to acknowledge that we have the pleasure of co-hosting this webinar with our partners, the Pacific Water Wastewater Association, and also colleagues from the PWWA, utilities, government agencies, joining us today, development partners, and other colleagues from ADB. This particular session is again focusing on how do we now encourage the utilities to operationalize the tariff that we talked about. How do we make it easy for people to pay their water bills? What strategies can utilities adopt to ensure water is accessible to all? I think we know all utilities want to operate within the virtuous cycle of improved service delivery, having a proper strategy for cost recovery, whether it is tariffs, transfers, or taxes, so somebody is paying for them, even if it's not in the form of tariff, either taxes or transfers. How do we make them inclusive? And our focus is particularly on tariffs in the last two webinars, including this one. And today we will hear from Customer Service Manager from Tonga Water Board and Water PNG. Thank you very much for joining us today, and how their customer service teams are operationalizing the water tariffs. What do they do? What is their day-to-day work look like in supporting the financial and operational sustainability of the services of the utilities? So thank you again, and I wish you all a great discussion. Thank you, Dean, and colleagues for facilitating it. Over to you, Dean.
Excellent. Thanks, Nita. And we're joined this morning by our colleagues from Pacific Water and Wastewater Association. As Nita said, that ADB is really happy to support these webinars, and we certainly couldn't make them happen without the support of the PWWA. So, Ms. Aletti, I'll hand over to you for some opening remarks from the PWWA.
Thank you, Dean. And also thank you, Nita, for that welcoming remark. Talofa lava to our valuable members, um, esteemed colleagues, and passionate advocates for sustainable water in the Pacific. I would like to welcome you on behalf of our CEO, Lucia Sefoleao, um, to this Pacific webinar series today. So welcome. Today we gather in this webinar to tackle a critical challenge that faces the Pacific, as earlier mentioned by Nita, operationalizing water tariffs to ensure equity and affordability. Our collective journeys towards achieving this goal is not just about numbers and policies. It's about securing the human right to water for every individual in our communities. The Pacific region, with its unique cultural richness and biodiversity, is also home to some of the most pressing water-related challenges. As we navigate through the complication of water tariffs, our focus must remain steadfast on creating systems that are fair, just, and inclusive by asking the following questions. What are some of the key strategies for ensuring equitable water access in the Pacific? How can we share successful examples of operationalizing water tariff? And how can we engage communities to promote affordability and sustainability in water management? So those are very important questions that we can have a think about while we're going through, while we're listening, and also to our colleagues from around the Pacific. We're here to share knowledge, to learn from one another, and to forge pathways that will lead to water security for all. Let us be guided by the spirit of cooperation and the shared understanding that water is not a commodity, but a precious resource that sustains life and fosters growth for all. Thank you for signing up today and your commitment to this course. Your presence here today is a testament to the importance of this issue and the difference that we make together. Let us embark on this important discussion and with open minds and a collaborative heart. On behalf of, once again, on behalf of PWWA CEO, Pitolao Lucia Sefoleao, and our ADB team, we welcome you to the webinar. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you very much, Miss Letty. So some great points there. And yeah, it's a fascinating topic to discuss about tariffs. And yeah, so I'll just give a brief overview because we certainly don't want to hear from me as much as our speakers in the Pacific about their experience. It says there my title is an asset management lead, but in one of my former jobs, I was actually an executive in customer service. So like a lot of my colleagues that'll be talking today. So I've lived through this journey of operationalizing tariffs as a practitioner as well. Certainly different challenges when we've been talking to the teams, not only in PNG and Tonga, but more recently in the Cook Islands as well, that every country's got its own context and it's all a little bit different. So it's great to share that experience. So tariffs, last time we spoke, it was we talked a lot about how to set a tariff. And from my perspective, that was only one part of the journey. That once the tariff had been determined, we had an independent regulator that did that for us. We actually had to put that into practice, and that it might sound easy, but when you're working in a water utility, it's actually really difficult. You need to make sure you've got robust policies and processes for handling things like metering and billing. So how do you actually meter the water that goes to the customer and get an accurate bill to them? It all sounds simple to do, but in practice, as a lot of our speakers will talk about today, that can be a really challenging thing to do. And also the thing that, even in developed countries with things like, facing living cost increases and problems at the moment, hardship support is a real factor there that we had to grapple with to make sure we've got policies and procedures in place to support those that are less fortunate that can't support the bill. So that's a problem in Australia, but really in the Pacific and a lot of countries, that's a real challenge there, that utility bills can be really overwhelming. And that leads then into the concept of free allocations and community service obligations. Indeed, I mentioned about taxes and transfers, that people often think free water is actually free water, but don't realise that at the end of the day, that has to be paid for. So a lot of times the utilities are working with governments there to make sure that there are those subsidies and that they can meet a community service obligation to support the people that can't afford the water. So this morning we'll have some discussion about what we need to do to make sure that that we've got access to the water. So how do utilities expand the reach of their services? So a lot of these systems, and I'm here in Port Moresby today, and it's a rapidly increasing population here, and rapidly encouraging, rapidly expanding services and trying to get people to connect to the network as a paying customer. So how do we get people connected and get them to pay the bills? And the last point there about how do we turn non-paying customers into paying customers? A lot of us, again, different circumstances, we tend to take it a bit for granted that people are paying their bills. But I think in some of the Pacific countries that have got rapidly urbanising populations, there are people connected to the system that aren't paying for water. So how do we get them to pay? And particularly like here in PNG, how do we put systems in place that allow people in informal settlements to gain access to water in a formal way? And we'll talk a little bit today about what that means for people that don't have access to formal services and then have to pay for water in different ways, and what sort of impact does that have on them? And particularly in those informal sort of situations, how do you actually install a meter and arrange for payment? So some really fascinating questions in amongst all of that. And as we'll see from our speakers this morning, there are different ways to go about that, things that have been tried that haven't been successful, and new things coming online to try and address those issues. So our speakers this morning, we're really fortunate to have some senior executives from Tonga Water Board and Water PNG to help us with our discussion. So we've got Ella Siva, Deputy CEO of Tonga Water Board, and so supported by Selena, the Customer Services Manager, and Honk and Leo from Water PNG. And I've spent a lot of the last week with Honk and Leo talking about some of these issues. It's been fascinating discussions. So I think we've got Leo. Yeah, Leo's joined us. So welcome, Leo. So thanks a lot for coming along. So what I'll do is hand over to Leo, and Leo might describe the situation in PNG, and then we'll have a few questions about how they're tackling some of these issues. Oh, great. Honk's joined us as well. Welcome along, Honk. Okay, so to start our panel discussion, Leo, did you want to describe a bit about the background of the operations of Water PNG for us? I think you're on mute there, Leo. You're still muted, Leo, if you can hear us. It seems like we've got some technical troubles there. Maybe, Honk, are you with us this morning? Can you hear us?
Is it okay?
Oh, yeah, we've got you
Can
now,
you hear me
Leo.
now?
Yeah, great. Okay, yeah, over to you, Leo.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Dean, and the counterpart from the Tonga Water Board. It's nice to see your faces there. It's a new day, and we are all alive, and thanks God for that. Yeah. Thank you, Dean, for spending some time with us, myself and Honk in Port Moresby this week, discussing some of the issues that you've actually went through. The background of Water PNG is that Water PNG used to be used to be under the similar arrangements like Tonga Water Board. We were used to be under the Works and Supply Department, under the government department. And there was a restructure that happens that Water PNG we left to the Water and Sanitation Department within the utility of the Works Department needs to move out and become a commercial entity of its own. So they said an amendment to the Act, and here we are. And we operate in most of the provincial centers of PNG, except 3 provincial towns we haven't covered. I think Dean is fully aware of it. ADB is doing some work on the Wanim water supply, which is one of the provincial cities that we're going to move in. We have a Goroga water supply, which is currently operated by the local level government. The town council. We cover most of the local government, including the recent
So I'm not sure if it's my sound, Leo, but you're dropping out a bit there.
Yeah, we have a bit of a network issue. It might be an issue here.
You still with us there, Leo?
Yeah.
Oh, Leo, you still there?
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Leo. Yeah, sorry, you're just breaking up a bit there. We've got pretty bad comms in PNG today.
So that's just the background here. We have total of 48,000 of connection nationwide. Port Moresby probably has got 16,000 connections. The connections we count by the number of meters. Just a clarification. You will see most of the camps or portion where we have barracks, camps, institution. We have the bulk meters installed, so that it just count as one connection. And the original operations got around 33,000 connections, and DNS covered that in Port Moresby, where most of the people live in the informal settlements and villages. And that's the challenge we have, where our GM, Community and Government Relations, might cover that a little bit on that. And what a PNG, as a commercial entity, would not get any government subsidies for CAPEX and OPEX. So we generate our own internal revenue to cover both operational costs, CAPEX programs for the network, and also meeting our tax obligations and other community service obligations. So that's why that's the background of Water PNG. Basically, you can if you want more information, you can go into our website and probably figure out more background information on the operations of Water PNG across the nation.
Yeah, thanks, Leo. So, yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? A city of about maybe 700,000 people, that you've got 16,000 connections. So that's a real challenge to how do you meter and collect tariffs from that many people with so few connections. So it'll be a great discussion. We'll come back to that in a second. You just want to explain briefly, Leo, about your tariffs there?
Thank you. Yeah, we have the tariff review done last year, not last year, in 2022. We have a regulator, which is Independent Commission on Price Competition. We call it ICCC. and they are the one and services in PNG, like those goods and the declared goods and services. So water and sanitation, because it's a monopoly industry in PNG. They need to regulate that service, particular service. So we have the tariff, which is we build under what is called a billion block model. And within the billion block model, we use the regulatory asset base, which is the return on capital and return of capitals, operational cost, service standards, and tax information. We put everything together. And our regulators gave us what is called a maximum average price. And that maximum average price is a price that we'll have to sell on based on the volume that we sold to cover the internal capex as well as the operational cost. So we have the band 1, band 2, and band 3, and you will find that band 1 and band 2 is expressly designed for domestic customers. And it's more or less like a service obligations. We have rentable properties where low-level Papua New Guineas or middle-class people live in. And that's why, from 1 kiloliter to 30 kiloliter, it's 1 kina 50, which is equivalent to, let's say, $2.25 US cents, something like that. And this is the rate that we designed so that we know the people who are the middle class or the real citizens of people who can be able to afford us unit of price.
Yeah, thanks a lot for
yeah.
So thanks for outlining the situation, Leo. What we might do is come back to you. We've got Honk that's joined us now, but it really strikes me as a challenge for water PNG with big informal settlement areas, large population, and just some of the land tenure issues. How do you actually in PNG, particularly in Port Moresby, go about collecting the tariff that's been set there from such a large population that wants water? So, Honk, do you want to talk about some of the strategies that are starting to implement there?
Yeah, thank you, Dean, and everyone else. Sorry, I had network issues and I couldn't join in early, but thank you. And I know Leo may have touched base on most of the things. I think we all agree that delivering services to village and settlement communities in Papua New Guinea is a challenge in itself, and giving access to water to peri-urban settlements and local MKA villages, especially for the Port Moresby setting, has been a challenge for Adirano back then. And Adirano being a company, a profit-oriented company, the challenge to bring water into settlement has been far greater than what they anticipated in their operations. And what we're doing now is, with the government's WAS policy to give access to clean treated water to everyone, this also places a challenge for us as water PNG to supply water to this area. So the concepts that we have initiated are 2 different concepts that we have initiated, and 2 pilots are running at the moment. If successful, then we'll be rolling it out in other settlement and village and settlement areas in Port Moresby. One of which is the meter farming concept that we piloted out in one of the villages in the Motukoitabu council area, and we have so far about 320 house connections made, and that is a good number. And in the next week coming, we'll be sitting down with Leo and his team and the village councillor and his water committee on the billing arrangements and to activate the bills once the last 15 of the 420 meters connected. Will be sitting down with Leo and his team and
So Hong, just on
discuss
those
on the billing arrangement. And sorry,
just briefly on the arrangements there for those meter farms, Hong, for people that aren't familiar. So that's basically a metering point that you install that allows the individuals then to connect their own pipes back to that central metering point, isn't it?
yes, exactly. Normally we have in terms of the metered or the rateable areas, we have meters placed right within the customer's yard. From the connection is made from the main service line to the customer's home, and the meter is placed right within their homes. But in the meter farming concept, it is different, where we enclose all the meter farms, as you can see on the photo, that all the meters are caged in one location, closer to the main service line. That is to avoid people tapping into the lines for illegal connections and all that. So once the meters are connected, every individual house owner will have to connect to these meters, and the meter is caged in this cage, and the distance between the meter to the individual house owner, that distance, the house owner now becomes responsible for looking after that line, knowing very well that his meter is in a cage close to the service line, and for people to tap into their line, now the house owner becomes responsible for looking after that service line, so no illegal connections will be made, and all the meters are placed closer to the main water mains. So that is one area where we try to avoid illegal connections when people have run their main lines from the service line all the way to their houses, and when the meter is just within the yard, the line between the main service line to the house is susceptible to illegal connections. And once that is done, the pressure is released, pressure is low, because people are tapping into the line from the main service line closer to them. So the person who actually has the meter next to the house loses out on the pressure and water. So the meter farm now helps us address this area, as well as the other thing is that in the village and settlement areas, we don't have land descriptions or property descriptions where they are not properly demarcated and given section allotment numbers. So it is pretty much harder for us to have a proper description for billing purposes. And with this arrangement now, we have the water committee or the councillor in the local area is able to identify the specific houses and deliver the bills on time for the customers.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that description, Honk. Leo, did you want to just talk about how you distribute the bills there in those communities? It was a really interesting conversation we're having. It's in my experience, bills are sent in the post or electronically, but you've got a different challenge there for those areas.
Yeah, thank you, Dina, and thank you all for joining us again. Yes, we do have some challenges, and we did a bit of a cost-benefit analysis. Initially, we were delivering the bills through the postal services, but the return of the bills, it's almost more than 50% or 60%. So we decided to engage a contractor, delivery contractor. It's a similar concept in Australia, somewhere else, where you have a postal guys just delivering the mails at all the allotments and sections, just driving through up and down. So we have introduced the same concept, where we have contractors which picks up the bills from our homes, and they just walk through all the allotments, sections, streets, and hand deliver the bills. And to make sure that they deliver the bills, we have a small receipt that the person who receives the bill signed it off. and then we paid them according to the number of bills that they deliver to the particular asset. So when you do a cost-benefit analysis, it is exactly the same cost as what we paid for the postal service for the bill delivery, but the benefit is that the percentage of a bill delivery is higher than what we deliver to post office. So it is a gain for us, and it works out very well for our domestic customers, especially the one that Hong is looking after, the villages and settlements. The rate of poverty is in the domestic, where the domestic customers live. But most of our commercial customers, we went into e-invoicing. So we as soon as the bill is generated, automatically when the invoice is created, automatically we have the email listings there. So the bill automatically generated and then emailed to the accounts payable or the finance manager, which in charge of those major customers. So that's other options that we use. And for small, medium, for small and medium companies, we can just email the invoices, or we fax things like that, or we make sure that they pick it up. So that's the different sorts of different areas that we are looking at delivering the bills, because our customers need to pay on the invoices, and if they don't get the bills, they don't turn up to pay. So that's the challenge we have. And they're telling us that no, we didn't get an invoice, so we didn't pay.
No, it's a great discussion to have, Leo, and I was really fascinated that now you've got all of those different technologies and a way to deliver a bill, even down to the point now of hand delivering those to get paid. So just shows, I think, the scale of the challenges that we face in the water industry to get an accurate bill to customers. So I think I'm mindful of time. We might just have a quick look. I think we've talked about meter farming. That's the example from, there's an example we had from Lay as well, which is probably a pretty similar concept in a major town. We might just jump to the water kiosks. If you guys want to describe that as the other innovation you've got.
Before I go into the water kiosk, the water vending concept, just for the bill delivery, yesterday I had an interesting discussion with our GIS guys. Is that in terms of bill delivery to the village and settlement areas where they have no land, proper land descriptions, property descriptions, one idea that came to mind was to have geo-satellite positioning to come in. You know, we have GPS coordinates placed on every household that has a meter connected, so that when we have our contract or casuals that go around doing bill deliveries, they can simply bring a tablet with them, or something that they can have go through the name and place their GPS coordinates, so that it pinpoints to the property that the metered property that is listed against that meter. So the GIS guys are prepared to help us in doing that. We have in the last year we did allocate GPS coordinates for all the bulk meters in the settlement areas. But I am hoping to discuss further with Leo on this, where all the settlement areas that have connection to a water meter in our current projects will have GPS coordinates to all the houses that have water connection. So it'll be easier for the bill delivery guys to pinpoint and deliver the bills. That's on the bill arrangement.
Yeah, people can see there, I think, from that aerial photo, just the nature of the development there in Port Moresby. That's really hard. There's no formal lots and street addresses, so that sounds like a great innovation.
Yeah.
So
I'll just bring up the slide. Discuss with Leo.
Yeah, we might just have a quick look at this one as well while we're talking water PNG. No,
yes. Okay, for this water vending concept, this concept is now being piloted at another one of the Motukwata villages as well, and the local council authority is going to be the vendor, and we will sell we will sell to the local authority, which is called the Motukoitapu Council or Motukoita Authority, and put a bulk meter through a bulk meter, and the internal reticulation in the village is done through this arrangement of water kiosks, and they will sell water through the kiosks to the community, and then the local council will pay the bulk meter. That's sort of a retail arrangement. So we sell bulk water to the local authority, and they retail and pay on the bulk meter. So that's a concept we are piloting, and that's being funded by DFID through WaterAid and the local MKA authority.
Fantastic. There's a question there in the chat, Honk, about whether you've got any information about whether the preferred way for people to pay their bill. And I suppose related to that, do people say they want to buy their water from Water PNG? Are they really looking to be able to pay a tariff to you rather than private water vendors? Is that your experience?
The issues we've had for our bulk meter arrangement in the village and settlement is that particular issue that rose because the water committees sometimes do not come and pay the bills when they collect the bills from the people, and on instances where sometimes when the committees bring the bills to the office, sometimes they use part of the money and they just come and pay off, and that's all the trust issues come into play and in the village and settlement areas for water committees. But in this kiosk arrangement, I think it's the villagers, they don't have a choice because that's the only arrangement that is in place. All we have to do now is to regulate the pricing on which the vendor is selling to the customers. So we will have to regulate the price from our end, and they've been have been without water for a long time, and this is the arrangement that will have constant water flowing. So we don't see any challenge in that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and you, Leo, and myself could talk all day, and I know we have had long conversations about metering and billing in PNG. So unfortunately, we probably have to leave that one at this point. We might come back for some more questions, hopefully, in a second. But it's really fascinating, and to think about Mr. Letty's introduction there, talking about the human right to water being fair and inclusive and issues of equity. I think it's fantastic to see the way that that Water PNG is tackling those issues now, to able to make people who live in settlements in informal situations a paid customer and give them fair access to water at a good price. It's really interesting conversation to have. So thanks a lot. And people have got questions for Leo and Honk. Drop them in the chat, or we'll come back in a second. But we might just hear from Tonga Water Board now, from Elisiva and Selena, who have got a bit of a different context. So I'll get Elisiva to give us a bit of background on Tonga Water Board and your tariff structure there. Good morning.
Thank you, Dean. Malolele, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, yes.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, we
okay.
can.
Okay, just a little quick background on Tonga Water Board operation. Tonga Water Board operates on the urban center area only for Nuku'alofa. Then to extend our services to the three main islands, Neafu Vava'u, Pangahihifo, and the Ewa Island. And we have about like 12,000 connections, covering about 65% to 70% of the country population. We don't include the rural area. Our water supplies via pipelines, and it operates 24/7, 7 days a week. And we receive no formal subsidy from government in operating. So it's quite a challenge when we talk about tariff, Dean, because as we are under the as a statutorial board as a service board. We don't have a regulator, so our board set the tariff, but we all faces the same challenge with the Pacific Islands. It have a great influence on politicians. So I don't think any politicians want to hear any increase in water tariff. But how important water is, as of today, we still set our tariff. We have two major tariff set for the four branches, including the main island, and we have the domestic as being presented and the non-domestics. So a domestic will be the household, and the non-domestic will be the commercial. So it's about 0.00255 per liter. And as you can see, it's a different tariff for different branches. Highest is the main island, lowest is the of Ewa Island. The reason why, because this island had a great challenge with water turbidity. And as of last year and about a year from now, that we work together with Dean and the Sione Foundation from Australia to improve the filtration, because their water supply was heavily reliant on surface water. Biggest challenges they faced was at the turbidity. So as that's solved, it's one of the cleanest water, and yet we still operate in a very lowest tariff. We just had 2 days ago our retreat with our board of directors, and this is one of the major concern of the board as we are operating this island in a high level of water quality. Till that we have improved the filtration, we have better equipment, and we need consistency of water treatment to keep the water quality. But we can't operate in a very low tariff. So we've been taking an action to reconsider our tariff, but at the same time, as we are a board under government, the government is considered us to change our act, as we are under the Tonga Water Board Act, to change us from a service provider to a business. So that act will be a big change for us, as we'll be going to a limited Tonga Water Authority Limited instead of a Tonga Water Board. With that, we can have a different independent regulatory to set our tariffs. So that body will be independent from us being attacked politically. At the same time,
Yeah,
the
that's
challenges that we'll face with able to maintain our capex and our OPEX as well as our capex in order to operate. Thank you,
yeah.
Dean.
Thanks, Elasina. There's a lot of issues there, and I've had long conversations with Tonga Water Board too, particularly about AWA, which, as you can see from that slide, is a really low tariff. So, Selena, we were having a conversation there about some of the work you're doing to engage with that community. So, how do you encourage a community like AWA that they might need to pay more for their water? In a fairness and equity sense, they're getting a really good quality water now, a lot lower price than everyone else. So, how do you go about that to try and change the tariff and the mindset to get people to pay more for the water?
Um, Thank you, Dean, and um, thank you, Elisiva, for the. Let me just our plan for the AWAP customer to understand that we need to increase the tariff is to do some community and talk to them about the community stakeholder and talk to them about how precious and how clean the Ewa water and how how and the expenses that we will encounter when they when they needed to, clean and right price water for them. But the main thing is to run some stakeholder and talk to the community about how how clean and how important their water for them.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what about hardship support in Tonga? Because it comes up in most countries, and we briefly mentioned at the start there that we see water as a human right, but as businesses and water businesses, we need to raise the money. There's a tariff to pay for the work that we do. What sort of processes have Tonga Water Board got in place to support people that might be in hardship and can't afford their bill?
I think I'll chip in, Dean, before Selena will give you more detail. We do have challenges with getting the water bill, and that's the exact reading of the water meter. And we got complaint from customers too high. The high can be up to different issues. Either it was a broken pipes due to a extended root of a tree, which is caused by nature. That is like run over by a vehicle, etc. So within that, in order to meet the customer's expectation, um, that's quite the challenge. And sometimes we give certain percentage discount in order for them to bear that cost. There's another choices that Selena and her team offered is like part payment. And then at the same time, we are facing not only that we supply water, but the customers do illegal connections. So that's
Yeah.
another challenge.
Mm.
So with that, we take further legal actions, and with that further legal actions, we refer to giving a notice from our legal counsel or legal firm that represent us, and then just give them a 500 fee. Doesn't matter how long that customer connected the water. It's just in the idea how precious water is. But we do know it's a loss to us, but that's to take into consideration. It's a hardship,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
important that we don't want everyone to have like no one left behind. Yep.
Yeah.
I
Great.
think
Thanks,
Selena
Eliseva.
will chip in.
Yeah. So,
Thank you, Steve. And Tin, and some of our, of the high consumption and high water bill customers, we always uh, visit their house. We call them 3 times just to give them the breathing space so they can so so they can to see whether they can afford it. And we also we visited their house because we want to know the background, uh, whether they got job or whether
mm.
especially those families that they can that they can afford, and we make an offer or we make a installment payment installment like Siva mentioned earlier on, so they still gain access to the water,
Yeah.
even
That's
though
great, Selena.
you
I
know.
think it's really great the personalised approach the Tonga Water Board takes, so that no one is left behind there, and you really do need to understand the circumstances of customers to help them out there, so that you can stay viable as a business but help people in need. So thanks a lot. We've got some questions. I'm mindful of the time. There's a question that's come through. So thanks a lot to Eliseva and Tonga Water Board for outlining the circumstances there. Here's one for Honk and Leo. Can you just explain a bit more about the water vending model and the kiosks? Do customers get their water from the kiosk for a certain volume and collect it, or is there a service line from the kiosk to the customer's property?
Okay, this arrangement is currently being worked on. The pricing, because we have a fixed price on the bulk meter, the kiosk will have to set the pricings based on the volume or the capacity of the containers or tanks that people bring to the kiosks. That's one. The other thing is there are individuals who would like to have direct connections to their houses, and they'll be using meters, but there'll be a sub-metering arrangement that'll be in place. So those who want to have direct connections, they'll have they'll have meter connections as a sub-metering arrangement. But those who do not wish to have meters will have to buy off the kiosks the different capacity containers that will be priced differently according to the volumes. But
Great, thanks.
Pricing arrangement is yet to be confirmed with the MKA arrangement, because we're still working on it at the moment.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for that, Tom. So we've got a couple more minutes. If there are any other questions pop up, just drop them in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself if you've got any questions for the team. Or any more popping up.
Just another thing that for other PNGs to take on board is that our meters, the volume that passes through our meters are regulated, and we have to confine within the maximum average price that is set by our regulator. So the water vending and the kiosk that is done, we are only regulating the bulk meter component of it, but whatever happens after that is the responsibility, and that's why we asked this couple of questions, myself and Hong, where when we were with the people, we asked this couple of questions where their willingness to pay. Yeah. The willingness to pay is like a behavioral sort of things that a customer is willing to pay for a certain amount of kina for a certain amount of volume. So that's the concept. And then most people have agreed, they have agreed because in Port Moresby we have for long dry season, water price, water is a scarcity, and the demand is there. But it's the question of how we deliver those waters into the approximation. That's the question that we have with the limited capex expenditures and sort of things. But the concept is really it's really good, and the community is really appreciate the concepts that we are taking, because before that concept they were using water carts, and water carts is a very expensive exercise. Individual customers can pay for almost 300 to 400 kina on probably like 9,000 liters. Yes. So that's a very expensive concept.
Yeah, it struck me as a great initiative there at Water PNG, because I've seen in some of the work and heard the stories there about people paying a lot of water from water carters and containers from shops and things. So I think it's fantastic that Water PNG is looking for ways there to make water more accessible and give people power over being able to pay a water bill, and improve the revenue for Water PNG and the decreased non-revenue water. So there's benefits to everybody through those approaches. So that's been really fascinating. So we're nearly up to time now. So probably just some takeaway messages from me after hearing the discussion today and the conversations we've had. I think, there we go. So the takeaway message is that now for me, the tariff setting part of the process is only really the first step in ensuring the financial sustainability of utilities that we all face, and as you've heard today, different challenges in different countries about operationalizing the tariffs and collecting the revenue. So all of our circumstances are different, but we all face in different ways the same challenges that we've talked about this morning. And particularly in the Pacific, developing countries, we need to give special considerations to those customers that can't afford their bill. We've spoken a lot today about the human right to water, about being fair and equitable. So people need access, and we all need to come up with strategies in our utilities to support those people that genuinely are struggling to pay. The robust systems for billing and collection are really important because it's no good having the world's best tariff design if you can't actually bill and collect. And it's really interesting that Water PNG are going to the extent now to hand deliver those bills to customers. So that's, it just shows the different techniques and technologies it might need to employ. And at the end of the day, we're all seeking the solutions. As you can see at the bottom there, we need to be transparent and fair in our billing, come up with innovative ways that encourage customers to pay their bills, because I think generally people do want to have control over it. So they're happy to pay, provided they get a good service. And billing needs to be simple and accurate. And again, to support people in need. So we're really trying to manage all of those things. And it's a challenge for us in industry. So there's a lot of information that's out there amongst the peer groups. So you've heard a couple of examples today from PNG and Tonga, but I'm sure the speakers today be happy to share their experience. And if there's a lot of interest in this, we can factor it into the planning for future webinars. So our next webinar is on water licensing, land and water access. We've touched on some of those issues today, but again, it's fascinating to think about tariffs, how to get a bill. And then a lot of the conversation in the last week's about access to the water source itself here in PNG. So that's a really important topic as well. So we're looking forward to that on the 5th of June for our next webinar. So before we go today, Sinead will share a poll with us. So a couple of questions there about what you've learned from today. Hopefully we've helped expand the knowledge and shared the experience there. So if you could answer those poll questions, that would be appreciated. We'll give everyone a couple more minutes to do that. There we go, Sinead. Have we got the responses coming through?
Just another minute for the last few.
Okay, and just before we go, we're just about out of time. If everyone could turn their camera on for us, and we like to get a family photo at the end of our webinars. So yeah, as you fill on the poll in, so please turn your camera on and join us for a photo.
It's interesting.
There's a few smiling faces. Where's everyone else? Everyone's shy this morning.
Waiting on a few more people. Okay, feeling comfortable.
There we go. We've got more to come there, Sinead. I can't see too many people on my screen. Where is everyone this morning?
That's all good. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody. And that concludes our webinar today. And we hope to see you all at our next webinar. And special thanks to our panelists today. That's always a fascinating conversation with the group of people there. Okay, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.